say I wanted to limit my kids' access to Wi-Fi.
And we thought about that, but the thing is, it has to do with our target market, right? Because we've kind of been pulled in a couple different directions by this. So there's absolutely the consumer market, right? And it's all more about like, hey, my kids and my Wi-Fi, and I want to make sure that they're not using the wireless after a certain period. And then we're hearing more from businesses, which is, I really just want to make sure, look, I need to know what was somebody on the network at 2 a.m., last week, right? Like, why was this employee even on there at 2 a.m. or 4 p.m. when something went down? You know what I mean? Like, it's more, and so we've tried to go into the consumer market, but the consumer market's it's a lot trickier, right? It has to be easier to use, easier to understand. And some of the things like, for example, this, to an IT person, you look at that, it's just nothing. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? To consumers, sometimes like, okay, there's a MAC address and the IP address, and yeah, there's an IP, there's some mixing up of terms and things like that. So we found that to really crack the consumer market, we have to do things like, not show this, but show that this is an iPad, and show that this is an Android phone. We have to do some things that are just a little bit harder to do technically. We can achieve them on the router, but they take some additional development time. So our primary market is kind of this small business and techies that are kind of already converted. They already want something additional on the monitoring side. Sorry, you actually.
Yeah, you mentioned that the freemium model has allowed customers to see over time the number of people that are getting on that they didn't realize were getting on.
Yeah.
Do you keep, just to kind of translate that message much more quickly to potential customers, do you keep track of these statistics so that you can just tell people?
No.
On average, when people adopt our product, they notice in the first 6 months that they have X number of people not on the network that were not supposed to be on the network. Then you can just say it, and then
no,
they don't have to
and
track.
I will be honest, I am not great at marketing. Marketing and sales are not my strong point. I'm definitely an engineer.
Is that information that you can keep track? Is the capability there to do that? Or is it in the terms of service?
Yeah, so from the free users, we really don't track what they're doing, and we do that intentionally, right? We don't, some people kind of use their free product as almost, hey, let's use the users as information and kind of garner information from them. We really say, look, the free product is out there. We're probably going to open source it fairly soon. It basically just says, if you want kind of the most basic monitoring, there it is out there. Now for our paid customers, yeah, I mean, we can see that we already have those statistics because they're connecting online, and so that'd be a great point. We should really throw that out to future users. Sorry, yeah. Got it?
Yeah. So possibly two questions.
Yes.
One is, as you think about a go-to-market strategy, there's a lot of firms out there who service the small, medium-sized business customer from an IT perspective. Is there a possible affiliation alignment for you with them for distribution?
100%, and that's, we've really been kind of in the technology building stage for about the last 2 to 3 years. We wanted to make sure our technology was right. Now we're actually kind of getting out there and going to market. So, for example, IT partnerships, people that manage other people's IT networks, or IT companies that manage other people's networks. We've had some conversations with people in that area, and I think that would actually be really helpful.
And the second question was, you used an example of, noticing whether or not an employee's on at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Is there the opportunity for companies to register MAC addresses and devices within their network so that it's easier to identify?
Absolutely, and that's part of it. That's what I was talking about with the stall. Basically, you scan the network, you tag which devices are supposed to be there. Right now, simple tagging just says this one either should or should not be there. I mean, to add a schedule to it is not really that hard either. And then alerting to unique activity and logging.
Can you change the label of the devices based on the MAC address?
Can you change the label?
Yeah, so instead of just saying laptop, you can say, I know that this MAC address belongs to John's laptop.
You can, and that's basically what's been done over here. So, it kind of shows up with this, and then you can add the description.
All right.
You have a question? Go ahead.
Go ahead. I have a different market. I was in the enterprise space, but I could relate to you because I had a Radius server, and we were advised by an accelerator to have a freemium model.
Yeah.
And the free model is a huge waste of time. Huge waste of time because those people are tire kickers.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was Radius for modem-based ISP. So these guys with 2 trunks of 50 pairs into their bedroom at their mom's house with a rack of couriers, those guys were never going to become our customers.
Yeah.
So after a year of just beating our heads with a boat oar, we decided to drop the free product, and all of a sudden we had 7 customers that were the biggest, best customers in the world. We gave all of our attention to those people. To me, my question is, why even bother open sourcing something? I'm all about open source,
Yeah.
but in terms of this kind of a super fine focused thing, are you just manufacturing your own competition?
That is a great question. I'd love to talk to you afterwards, actually, just to see your experience on it. I wouldn't say we're manufacturing our own competition because we have competition, right? And one of the nice things about having something that works is people clone it like that, right? So we've had free clones from everywhere, from China to Spain to all over the world, kind of say, oh, hey, here's something that's working. Let's call it who's using my Wi-Fi, who hates my Wi-Fi, whatever. What's on my Wi-Fi? I mean, we've had clones out there too, and then now even on the router space. I think this shows that we're kind of in the right direction. I mean, even Google just launched the Home Hub last week that, for the consumer, does some of the same stuff, right? So I think we're making an impact. We're in the right space, but there's going to be tons of competition.
Right, but if I was
you're
on your board, I'd love to see you getting out of the retail and just doing
Just-
bundling. So
yeah.
it just comes with a Cox small office, home office router
100%.
with their label right on it, and nobody knows.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've seen in the router space too. Is I mean, how many people in this room installed their own router? Okay. Then that's
Wrong
great.
graph for that question.
Which
one is the router?
See, we hear that a lot.
That's the tool that we use to put a nice edge on the cabinetry.
So maybe this room's kind of the exception, but we hear a lot more that people just want it already there. They want Cox to kind of install it, be safe. Hey, if they want some control, they get some control, and that's just it. And we hear that a lot, and so that's why we'd actually like to work with some ISPs just to kind of get it out in a small fashion and just see does it really work. I think you had a question as well.
I got 2.
Please.
Okay, first one, I've worked with a lot of novice computer users.
Yeah.
They don't know what a MAC address is.
Yeah.
Can you tag that column with computer ID, MAC address? That way you can say, what's your computer ID? Second is, somebody might be hooked up and be a viable, correct computer on the network. Are you tracking those ports that are sending traffic?
Okay, so you have 2 questions. Number one, we do need additional, or pretty much as much information as we can gather from the basic scan, right? So, if it has something like a host name and BIOS, that helps out. The MAC address, we can then show, based on like the MAC address, the manufacturers and things like that. So it does help to some degree. But then we also, kind of point them to wiki answers that says, hey, how do I know what this device is? How do I find the MAC address on 14 different types of devices, right? So that's usually very helpful. Your second question, sorry, I just blanked on it. Was
Port tracking.
yeah, we don't track ports. Now, even with our router, we don't want to be in what's called, essentially, we don't want to listen to all your traffic, deep packets. Right?
Yeah, DPI.
We don't want to do that, right? I mean, there's some reasons I guess you could do it, and it's just we don't want to be the company that's watching where you go on the internet, what devices are on the internet. Once you start really kind of tracking the different ports and stuff, that starts to get into it a little bit, and we just don't want to be that company.
Well, plus you'd be out of the $59 footprint and the $300 Sonic Wall footprint.
Yeah.
The hardware to keep up with DPI is macho.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's not really.
Well, let's talk about malware.
Yeah, malware. Exactly.
Okay. It's not going to use port 80, 443, 995, any of those common ports.
And our solution is not the right solution for antivirus or anti-malware. Like that is, and sometimes people get confused about that too. Like people hear the name, who's on my Wi-Fi, and they say, oh, so this is an antivirus solution, and it's not, right? This is
Anti-neighbor.
right. That's great. I gotta use that. Like this is not antivirus, this is anti-neighbor. So there was a question back there.
How much is the router compared to what a normal router would be if you're just going to go through Cox? Or-
Sure, yeah. So right now, our online service is $9.95 a month, which people have kind of told us is expensive or cheap depending on who we ask. And the router is $99 for basically 1 year of the online service plus the router. And then we're looking at like an annual pricing of about $49 to $59 a year after that, right? So it's sort of like $100 up front, then about $50 a year after if you want to continue to use them long term. Now, we're a startup, right? So our costs are expensive. I mean, our base cost per user per month is about $1 per user per month. So if somebody like a Cox could actually get in there, I mean, I think they could offer it for about $3 a month, but that would be because they can do it at scale, right? They can still have a nice healthy margin and survive. But we have to be a little bit higher just because we're more, because we're smaller. Right? So hopefully at scale we can be a more viable, less price sensitive issue. So, and we just wanted to solve this problem. It was kind of something that happened, and it was like, why doesn't anyone know that this random device showed up on the network? And it turned out that, other than the enterprise, and I think the IT guys in the room will definitely say, for the enterprise, you've been able to do this for 2 decades, right? Or at least for a decade, right? Like you get tap or span, you're recording everything. You can use some of the higher security tools, and it'll track all the sessions of all the devices. But what about for the small little network out there? And there wasn't really a lot. Anything else? Yeah, Zach.
All right, as a community, what can 1 million cups here in Oklahoma City, what can we do for you?
Yeah. Honestly, this is helping a ton, right? I mean, really getting honest feedback. I mean, throw the hammers at it, right? So if this is too expensive, this technology is garbage. You don't do that, right? I mean, do it for real and send it.
First of all, I don't think you're.
Yes.
I don't think you're producing the shocking. I know Charlie. So Charlie
Yeah.
got me thinking about this. The name of your company started making me wonder who's on my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had a graph that showed a couple samples of how many people, for example, first time I looked, there was 30 people on my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. And I had a Cisco E3000 router, and it's fully patched. So I turned that thing off, and I put the 810,
Yeah.
which is like an expensive home router. It's a small office.
Yeah.
And that one's worse.
Yeah.
That one's worse. These are fully patched, latest firmware from a reputable company, and they're wide open like a supermarket.
And I'll say, we've gone with some different marketing strategies, right? And, at first we almost tried to scare the user. And the problem was we got the worst customers. I mean, we have like when people were buying from a position of fear, man, trying to deal with them on the customer service side was just terrible. I mean, there were, try to deal with somebody who's frantic. You can't help them on the phone. It's really hard to deal with them as customers. So we really started pitching kind of the wireless monitoring because it's less scary, right?
Sure.
Like, just see what's happening on your network. Keep track of it, right? That is a less scary proposition than, oh my gosh, there's an intruder on your network. You need to do something about it right now. And then when they see there is a device, and people would kind of get like a false flag, whatever, like, or false positive, right? Like they would think there's an intruder when it was just their Kindle, right? And they call us frantically, and we don't want to sell fear because we don't want to support fear. We don't want to have customers that are very fearful, and it's kind of just there's enough fear in the world. really want to increase it, even if it kind of helps sales.
Let's have a quick round of applause. All right, before we get to our next gentleman, David Berlin. Whose first time is it here at 1 million cups? We got some cups, perfect. 3 people. We got some back here. We only got 3 cups, so we're gonna get 1 back there, and then if we can do these gentlemen the audience. There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Next time, we can just try to bring somebody with you. Try to always bring somebody. Spread the word. We got 1 coming up there. I guess we know everybody. Sorry.
My bad.
All right, now Dave is coming up next. He's
Good morning. I want to thank Zach and the whole team here for having me down. It was a little short notice, but I'm always excited to stand up in a room full of entrepreneurs. First off, how many entrepreneurs are in the room right now? Just make sure everybody's in the right class, right? So I want to tell you guys a little story about how discharge to in-charge came to be. It's a little different than I can tell you. I honestly don't know what a router is or what it does. I'm not a tech guy at all. I'm a nerd when it comes to exploring different avenues of thinking, how we can approach things differently, and how we can make a difference. Not that that won't make a difference, it's just tech stuff, like I can't even work my smartphone. So discharge to in-charge is a concept that came to me from one of my mentors. Day job, I do sales and marketing. So I work for a company called DJ Connection in Tulsa, and one of my mentors was the Small Business Entrepreneur of the Year. He's got a huge project, a previous presenter for a company called Thrive 15, which is online education for entrepreneurship. He's a mentor of mine, and as I spent more time in the entrepreneur space, sales, marketing, growing the DJ company, I started traveling to Dallas, grew the company down there. I started traveling to Kansas City, grew the company up there. Now we're in 6 cities, and that's been in 4 years. So the growth that's happened came from a lot of networking, meeting a lot of different people, and I found 1 Million Cups in Tulsa whenever they started almost 2 years ago. So the idea of discharge to in-charge came to me whenever I was talking with my mentor, and I started to intersect with more veterans in the world of business. And just so we can see that entrepreneurship, we're all entrepreneurs, how many veterans or active duty service people do we have in the room today? Awesome. So as I started to see that trend becoming more apparent, I started to see sort of a pattern rise with that. So I started to see more veterans getting involved in business. And the idea of discharge to in-charge was more of a personal story for me. You know, after I got out of the military, I was in pre-9/11, got out post 9/11. It was a very different world, a lot of challenges, and I found so many people have some of those same challenges. In fact, I started asking veterans one question. I normally, for entrepreneurs, I'll ask you what you're reading, just so I can get new books and stuff like that and learn. For veterans, I ask, what is the number one-word answer of what you feel veterans struggle with the most? And one of the biggest things that I found is purpose. And as I found that, and I started doing more and more research, I had the honor of giving Tulsa almost, what was a year ago? I think it was a year ago. And as I talked about that, it generated a lot of conversations, got a lot of buzz around it, and then I started developing what I was going to talk about, how I was going to help more veterans transition out. So the idea for discharge to in-charge is to provide private resources for veterans to help them rediscover what their purpose is. Now, in that, I study a lot of authors in the space. One of my favorites, Simon Sinek. He's also a TED Talk aficionado, and he talks about the golden circle, why we do what we do versus how we do what we do versus what we do. So the concept of discharge to in-charge is still a little fuzzy as to what exactly it will do. In fact, I presented at 1 Million Cups earlier this year in Tulsa. Got a little roughed up. There's a lot of things that were kind of foggy, because remember, I'm a why guy. I'm kind of deep inside that why guy. Some of the stuff that I'm trying to put to market, so to speak, hasn't happened yet. So I'm still working on some of the systems of how exactly discharge to in-charge is going to come to life, but I'm still working a day job. So in that, I'm planning my transition for April 1st of next year. If I set up a website, that was the big question last time. Where's your website? Why don't you have all this stuff? If I had a website and I answered every single email from stuff that I got, it would totally derail me from closing out my day job and things like that. So the main reason why I'm doing this is because I want to help veterans rediscover their purpose. That's where it starts. That's where we lose a lot of veterans along the way. So the biggest thing that we're looking at doing is 3 prongs. So first off, we got to help them rediscover some sort of purpose. Get them involved in something. This could be a nonprofit, which I have a nonprofit agency that I'm working with in Tulsa. It's a fundraiser. We've done 2 workout events, and we did our first 5K on the 4th of July. So we target military holidays. The next one that's coming up is going to be another workout. It's going to be on Veterans Day coming up in November. So that's going to be our next fundraiser. So we're raising funds for different nonprofits local to the area. The main involvement is to get veterans outside of their houses, get them back to doing something productive. A lot of times they'll take a blue-collar job or something like that. We want to get them involved in something that gives them a little bit more purpose and taps them into that community. Okay? As we do that, then we start to get them thinking, and we start putting them in pockets of entrepreneurship and things like that. my area of sales and marketing, entrepreneurship, then I want to help get them in a position where they can start their own company. So get them moving, get them excited, get them thinking, and then we use that existing tribe, like raise your hands again, veterans. We use that tribe to connect and grow our businesses. I've already worked with some organizations like Thrive 15. I'm a veteran ambassador. Just a quick thing on them, and I know I'm short on time. Thrive 15 is an online education. If you get online, you get a monthly membership. You get access to great mentors that are also veterans, like Lee Cockrell, who used to run Disney. Clifton Talbert, who was in the Army. He wrote Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, which turned into a movie from Oprah. And then I've also worked with some great podcasters, and I'm working with Zach as well. High Speed, Low Drag. Does anybody listen to John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire? Just one? It's a great podcast. You should check it out. That's one that's just dedicated to veterans, and I help them keep their pipeline full of veterans that are running businesses, help them grow their businesses, grow their platforms. This is the Reps for Vets is the workout that we do. This is the fundraiser on how we raise awareness for different nonprofits local to Tulsa right now, but because I have roots in Oklahoma City, Kansas City, Dallas, Denver, we're looking at spreading that out a little bit over the next 2 years. Ways that you can connect with me. Everybody, the question is, why does it look like everything's Dave Berlin right now? I'm still in the concept phase of a lot of things, so I'm gaining intelligence, putting stuff together, building networks before I launch the website and all that stuff. That way I can focus on that in April. Any questions? Rip me up.
I don't think you should worry about the at Dave Berlin thing right now. A worthwhile branding effort deserves its chance for
Right. Yeah.
So just pretend you have a great brand. And
Oh, I'm not worried about it. Like I said, that's what they roughed me up on last time. And I've got a plan. It's a
How come you
strategic
don't have a
plan.
website that spills out all your secret business?
Exactly.
No, I'm not worried about that. But
Connect
you
with me
have
first, and then we'll build the website.
You have secret business, yes?
What's that?
You have secret business.
Yes. A lot.
I'm not worried.
I have not revealed everything in 60 minutes.
How are you connecting with veterans now? I mean, how do you find these veterans to connect with them?
Yeah, his question was, how do you connect with veterans now? One of the avenues is I do have a Facebook page, Discharge in Charge. It's organic. I'm not promoting that or pushing it. A few people find it. The way I connect right now is through organizations like 1 Million Cups. I reach out. I'm a huge fan of the idea that your network is your net worth. So I'm very intentional about reaching out to different relationships. Whenever I meet a veteran, it's great. When you meet one veteran, you find at least 5. And I can count like 5 right here. And I only knew one of them before, which was Rob. Then I met Zach, now I know all these veterans right here. So just through existing relationships, but then also through existing businesses too. There's pretty much a veteran everywhere you go. Start a conversation with them, and then the tribe starts to blow up from there.
Have you thought about connecting with the transition assistance programs at various installations?
Yes, that's a great question. That's one that comes up. I'm going to speak a little candidly, and if I'm going against the grain here, you guys can beat me up in the parking lot. The transition assistance program is great. It was a great asset for me as I was transitioning out. But honestly, the reason why I'm using private resources is for 2 reasons. And this will answer your question in kind of a long scope. The reason why I'm using private resources is what I found as an entrepreneur, working especially with nonprofit organizations, is there's a lot of red tape in things like the VA and assistance and stuff like that. You can go wait in line for a year and a half. Gritty statistic, I know we talked a little bit about statistics. 22 veterans a day take their own life. And a lot of that comes from waiting in line for different things. What I found as an entrepreneur is I can pull the trigger that much faster and get them the assistance they need. I was working with a nonprofit, and they were trying to get business cards to promote that event, the Reps for Vets event. It was like a 45-day wait time. And I was like, I'll just go buy you business cards. Here you go. And it was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So to answer your question, secretly, and at the root of everything, the transition assistance program is there because it is mandatory, but not secretly, again, if I go against the grain, you guys can beat me up. They are hoping that people do re-enlist at the last minute. They're not creating a sense of fear that, they're saying, hey, you can use all these resources and go out and get jobs, but at the same time, you're qualified for re-enlistment all the way up until the time that you walk out the door. So they give you just enough to survive, but they're not really open to people coming in really showing them, hey, on the other side of the fence, there's all kinds of stuff. The grass is really green over here. They're not really receptive to that. So I normally have to catch people after they get out.
Do you have any outfits working with you on this project other than participating? I mean, who else is going out and doing outreach?
For this project specifically, so some of the nonprofit organizations that I work with in Tulsa, Veterans Treatment Corps is the one that I focus all my energy on. I've actually got another partner right now. Soldier's Wish is another one of my veteran mentors. Kevin McDougall has it's one that I'm really passionate about because it's easy to explain. There's so many of them out there, like Wounded Warrior Project and things like that. And sometimes the bigger ones get a little bit fuzzier as to what they actually do. Soldier's Wish is very simple. It's like Make-A-Wish Foundation, but for veterans. So I work with them, help them raise awareness. They trade resources and different things like that as well. So basically, I'm in the serve mode right now. I'm helping everybody grow their platforms. They're opening me up to their tribe, their email list, and things like that.
Well, I appreciate your statements about transition assistance program. They have contracted it out now.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
businesses. So what I would
That's
offer
great.
is look into what's happened in the last 24 months.
Okay.
Actually 12 months because of issues and veterans problems. You may want to look at who they've contracted with and
Sure.
see if you can just see information to pass out.
Sure.
If you can hand out cards at the event, then that may do more than anything else.
Right, and just so I do clear up one other thing, when people come through, once everything is fully operational, basically there'll be a series of funnels that people can go into for people that are looking for nonprofit, the sense of purpose first to try and rediscover that. We will have assets to point them in the right direction of local nonprofits. In the way of education, just so everybody's clear, I am a full-blown entrepreneur. I'm a high school dropout, went to the Marine Corps. All of my education has been practical knowledge that I've learned out in the field, applying, starting businesses, growing businesses, failing businesses. So with that, greater education is not my forte, but I do have some great resources that I can point people in the right direction. Sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. A lot of times, veterans are afraid of going and just being put on hold or wait, asked to stand in a different line or a different funnel. But normally, just if they have a name of somebody they need to talk to in the education realm, I'm looking at having key figures in that. My area of expertise that I really want to focus in is the entrepreneurship side of stuff and helping them really take their ideas, make them into reality, and live the truth.
It sounds like you're aware of a huge network of resources. Is your value play going to be basically shoelacing all these things together and producing a single offering that is a one-stop shop for all these things you know about?
Yes, that's in a sense that is the big picture. A lot of people, again, I've had different people have had great feedback. The role of the connector is kind of this elusive role, but I've been able to connect people to some of the most important resources they've needed. One example, and this was a question that came up last time, is name an example of somebody that you've helped. Somebody found me on Facebook through the Discharge and In Charge on the Facebook page that virtually gets like 2 likes a week. Asked me out to coffee. I brought him to 1 Million Cups 2 days after I met him. So I took him to 1 Million Cups in Tulsa. He loved the idea because he was starting a company. I introduced him to a high-end mastermind circle that I'm a part of in Tulsa. And his need in that circle, it's not traditional networking. It's not what kind of clients are you trying to, what's the ideal referral. It's like, what do you need? And he's like, I need funding for my business. Well, he was sitting right across from somebody who owns a bank. And he had been going through all this red tape thinking he had to go the traditional route. When he talked to this guy, he was like, that's no problem. It's less than $40,000. I can have that to you by the end of the week. Got funded for his business, had a nonprofit ribbon cutting event with Soldier's Wish at his event. 75 people showed up, launched his business. That was inside of 2 months.
Right.
Inside of 2 months. So the connections that I do have, it's an assessment. It's not like you need this. It's like, what do you need? You know, I'm a value proposition guy. What do you need? And I'll try and connect you to the people who can make it.
Can you talk a little bit more about reps for vets and kind of what your vision is with that?
Yeah, so Reps for Vets, and I apologize, I don't have any pictures for that. Reps for Vets is it's really to raise awareness. We saw a lot of traffic, you know, for 5Ks and stuff like that. It's a great way to get people out, get people moving. What we did was we took a different approach. I teamed up with a personal trainer out of Tulsa, and we did a functional fitness training workout style. So basically what we did, we got everybody out, we taught everybody the basic military formation, how to open ranks and things like that. We did a basic warm-up PT like you would in the military, got everybody sounding off, everybody getting excited, and then we broke off into circuits. We had celebrity trainers like Danny Cahill, who was the Biggest Loser ever on The Biggest Loser. He was there. We had, I can't think of her name right now, Jessica Jones-Myers, which she's a former Army officer. She's also a triathlete competitor. So she was out there, and we had those people running the different circuits. And then at the end of it, we did a push-up competition, and we calculated all the push-ups that everybody did, and that was the idea of Reps for Vets. We raised money. We raised money for the Tulsa Veterans Treatment Court. We did that twice. We did it in August of last year, and then we also did it on Veterans Day of last year. Then we switched it up this year. We did a 5K. It was our first annual 5K. We did it on 4th of July. There was competing 5Ks on the same day. Some people ran both. So they came out and showed support for the veterans. So the idea for that is to scale that. We're going to do another one for Veterans Day. We're going to scale that once we get the operating system down. We're going to link up with some of the nonprofits, the correlating nonprofits in Dallas and Kansas City, and launch those consecutively.
Do you have any plans for this coming Veterans Day?
Actually, on the way up here, I got a call from Stacy Hester. He's the national director for Veterans Treatment Court in Tulsa. He was on his way to the coffee shop thinking we were going to meet. I haven't talked to him since the last one, just because we kind of took a break. We start next week. We start the planning for that. I have an open meeting at the right before 1 Million Cups in Tulsa. It's open to any veterans to come sit in on that, and we talk about ideas that we're going to do for Reps for Vets. That's another avenue of how I connect with other veterans. We talk about different ideas and resources that we can get together for the next one. So we are going to do one more in Tulsa this year before we try and start scaling it for the 3 events next year. Questions?
One more. Go ahead, Zach.
No, go ahead.
It just occurred to me that guys I know that have just transitioned specifically out of the Air Force, and know which Air Force guys because of Tinker and whatnot.
These guys right here?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a few of them, right?
Yeah.
Gamification seems to come to mind in terms of, you know, you get your first badge when you do this certain activity or go to a coding boot camp. Even if you don't want to code, you need to know what it means. Or so you start stringing together these activities, and then the second badge is when you go out and recruit another person, pull them into the network, somebody else you're like 6 months after transition. This guy's about to transition.
Yeah.
And you create a whole bunch of different badges, achievements. People go nuts for that stuff. Have you looked at anything like that?
I have looked at that. That's a much bigger system. And when you look at gamification, I'm going to say that it's on some type of website, which, remember, I don't know what a router is.
No, I dig it.
But I do have a great group of people behind me. I will say that gamification does work, and I will give a shout out to Thrive 15. They have figured out how to gamify entrepreneurship in a very fascinating way. But the one thing the reason why I didn't talk about Thrive 15, Clay Clark is the founder of that. He's also my personal mentor. He's the one that helped me brand the idea of discharge to in charge. Some of the entrepreneurs that are in that space are like Lee Cockrell, who used to be the VP of operations for Disney. In fact, the pin I've got right here, I was personally mentored by Lee Cockrell of Disney, so he's helped giving me some great ideas and tips on how to do that. But the great thing about what they do is it is a membership-based program, but one of the things that I fought for as an ambassador for that organization was every time somebody pays a subscription, one becomes free for veterans. So that's why I sit on that board is I get free entrepreneurship education for veterans.
Neat.
All right, as a community, as a 1 Million Cups community, what can we do to kind of help you out with discharge to in charge?
Well, I'm always looking for connections to any veterans. Connect with any kind of veterans. I'm always anxious to meet new veterans and see where they're at in their transition, see what they've accomplished. One of the things that I did talk about in the TED Talk was that we're going through a tipping point. And if anybody has ever read Simon Sinek, Start With Why, I am a facilitator for that course, so I can help teach that back to organizations. I have spent a little bit of time working with his organization, but the concept of the idea of a tipping point is where something is almost like every bubble that pops, right? You know, the tipping point in this case that I see is we've got 1 million veterans that are going to be returning home to more than 8 million that have already served. That's a tipping point in itself, and if we can architect around that, then we can change it and we can make it do kind of what it needs to do. So I want to make sure that people have a path. So the biggest thing would be, watch the TED Talk. If it appeals to you, please give me candid feedback. It was one of my first public speaking opportunities, so I was a little nervous. But I'm always looking for different organizations that I can connect with and help share the philosophy of how veterans can be an asset to their organization. So if you have a veteran-friendly business, and again, I talk a lot in cliches. Everybody's a veteran-friendly business. Hey, we're veteran-friendly. What does that really mean? And I would love to see one that says that they're not. You know what I mean? I mean, think about that for a second. I would love to see one that says we don't hire veterans. I mean, of course, everybody's going to hire veterans, but what does that actually mean for their organization? So I'd love the opportunity to connect with organizations large and small. If you know veterans that are in a key position like a CEO or something like that, I'd love to connect with them, interview them, and help them grow their platform, because they're going to become the bright spots for the people that have lost their way. So whenever they start to see more people, just like we all watch entrepreneurs and we follow people like Steve Jobs or Simon Sinek. I'm a huge fan of John Acuff. I've actually been working with John Acuff on his new book. It's been huge on how it's appealed to veterans. He let me do a guest post on his blog, which is over 500,000 people, about why veterans are going to need that book. And I've even helped him take that book to market to get to more veterans. So anybody that's a veteran connector or a veteran that's lost his way, if you know a veteran, I'd love to connect with them and see what I can do to help. That's going to be the biggest thing. If you can, leave feedback on the TED Talk. It's on YouTube under Dave Berlin, so leave feedback there. If it makes any kind of sense to you at all, please share it. That's the only thing that I ask. Please share it. Try and get this message out there. There's more and more people that are coming to me, helping me refine what I can do for people. So that's the biggest connection that works. Anybody that's involved in the fitness realm, we're looking at connecting, building an entrepreneurial bridge to Oklahoma City because you guys are so close. I'm a huge fan of 1 Million Cups. And any kind of speaking opportunities, I'm always open to those as well.
All right. I've got a couple more announcements.
Is that a 1 Million Cups joke?
OK Coders, September 29th. If you want to learn how to code, you're with them over at CCEW in Norman. And Ron Harris from the OKC Entrepreneur Group this Thursday, 27th, over at Dunlap Coffee. So make sure you check that out as well. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Please take a picture with our sign out front that says 1 Million Cups. Who here is on Instagram? Anybody on Instagram? You guys are on Instagram? Search hashtag 1MCOKC. And you'll see a lot of pictures of myself and Brandon. That's it. So take some pictures with the sign. Hashtag 1MCOKC.
Your mic knows that?
Yes. All right, thank you all for coming. Feel free to sit around and mingle for a little bit. Talk to Dave, talk to John. Thank you guys for presenting.
I have to go back.
Anytime.
I've got